Oh, man, this title. It's a good one. Alderman or alderwoman? This is sexist. Chicago, you guys got to get your stuff down. Alderman who vowed to stop talking about crime. Because if we stop talking about crime, we won't identify it as racism. Therefore, it'll go away, right? It'll just go away. It'll just boop, done, right? No? Oh. Well, anywho, it reversed course. She's reversing course as shootings soar 180%. And she is outraged and disheartened. Let's get into it. Here we go. Now let's back up just a scooch here, right? This is, I think I covered this as well. This is back in May. With shootings, robberies, and sex attacks, that is not good. Nobody wants to be shot, robbed, or sexually assaulted. Chicago alderman says that she will no longer share crime alerts, cutting out the crime alerts because they create a bad perception. The optics are terrible. Oh, good Lord. Yeah. I'm not gonna do the crime stats anymore because maybe then they'll just go away. They'll just all of a sudden we'll wake up one day and things will be back to normal, whatever that might be. Or they'll be more like a state run by, I don't know, a Republican. Huh. And Chicago has some of the strictest gun controls out there, right? It's not the guns. It's the people. There's, listen to just this part. This is, it's so sad. It's so sad because these are people's lives that we're dealing with, but the lack of intelligence applied to how you're going to get said folks out of this jam, which is just people running around willy-nilly shooting each other all day long. In the time that you and I have been on this podcast, there's been in another 30 seconds, there will have been a shooting in Chicago. And we know this because we've got the Chicago shot clock, and every 2 minutes, 40 seconds, something like that. What is it? What is it right now? 2 minutes, 47 seconds. So about 20 seconds, somebody will be shot. In about another 12 minutes, somebody will be murdered. So you've got that going on. In a North Side ward where 4 people have been shot in the past week and robberies and sex crimes are at their highest level in over a decade, local alderman announced on Wednesday that she would no longer post crime alerts on social media or send crime alerts to her constituent email list. Why? Why, you may ask? Well, racism. Something about racism and her belief that over-reporting of crime leads to an inaccurate public perception about crime rates. Here's why I'm reading this backstory. Do you know what else leads to a perception of high crime rates? High crime. Oh, words of wisdom there. Oh, that is a zinger, isn't it? How do you know what else leads? Do you know what else leads to a perception of high crime rates? High crime. It's not that hard to figure out, folks. If you ignore it, it doesn't go away. The situation is not going away. You got some serious work to do because you've got other big cities where they're not just running around willy-nilly shooting each other, don't you? Huh. Yeah. I was reading a story. It was over this past weekend. I'm starting to get all the names in like South Holland down of all the villages that are there. And I can't remember this one. Somebody was in a funeral procession. They're in a funeral procession and they got murdered and killed by gunfire. I mean, horrible. Could you imagine going to say goodbye to one of your loved ones and then, more of your loved ones have to go bury you from a funeral setting? I mean, it's insane. That's insane. Just 5 months after announcing she would no longer talk about crime in her constituent newsletters because doing so is racist and fuels an inaccurate public perception about crime rates, Alderman Lenny Mana Hoppenworth reversed course this morning, calling her office outraged and disheartened by recent gun violence incidents that have taken place in the ward. Mana Hoppenworth laid out her Safe 48 health and safety plan. How about recent gang violence incidents? Why don't you substitute gang violence when you have gun? Because that's most of what we're talking about, aren't we? Are we not talking about gang violence here? Yeah, I think so. But nobody wants to say that. I don't know, so I could be wrong there. I mean, you could have hardworking citizens that are just running around shooting each other. But you know what? I don't think that's the case. That's not the case. People who are trying to make a living, trying to make something better of themselves, they're working too hard. They're head down, trying to figure out how they can pay all the bills in this inflation-ridden economy that we've got going on. They're not out shooting each other. They've got no time for that. Shooting one another doesn't really do anything except, all that ridiculousness that comes with everything associated with keeping your turf, covering your turf. When she banned crime topics from her newsletter in May, the first-term alderman tried to drape her decision in a scholarly cloak by linking to a couple of studies that said that they supported her thinking, including one from the University of Tehran. Oh, I'm sure that's really relevant. If you enjoy this channel, but you want even more, head on over to reasonabletv.com. Got stories like this one. Illegal immigrants, mostly law-abiding, except for these guys. Horrific stories caused by some illegal immigrants. Now, we can't run these stories just willy-nilly everywhere. So they're on reasonabletv.com. How much is that going to cost you? It's going to cost you a total of $3.99 if you're billed monthly. And you can always do a 14-day subscription, and it's free, and dip out if you don't like it. Or it's even cheaper if you do it on a yearly basis. It's $39.99. Love to have you join. Enjoy the additional content. Thanks for being here. Back to your regular scheduled program. So anyone who wants to know about crime in the ward has to opt in to receive separate emails. Here's that email over there that, it's got all the, I have concern about how many of the constituents are dying from gunshot wounds. Presumably, they're the racists who live in her corner of Edgewater and Uptown. Talking about people, I'm going to opt in and receive that email. I'm going to get that information. You're a racist. No, it's people who want to know, hey, what's the real deal? And you know what? Focusing on crime stats all the time, that's not going to get you anywhere because those are just stats. But understanding, hey, it's not guns jumping up and shooting people. It's really not. It's people. So focus on the people doing that. And then maybe you get somewhere. Oh, we can't do that because then we'd have to arrest some people, put them in jail. That's not going to work out because the optics on that would definitely be racist. You may or may not be surprised to learn that Mana Hoppenworth's decision to stop telling people about shootings and murders in the ward has failed to reduce the number of shootings and murders. I am shocked. I can't believe that. People are leaving Edgewater because they don't feel safe, the alderman told Block Club Chicago this week, and we can't afford to lose more people. Maybe including crime news in her newsletters wasn't the reason people didn't feel safe after all. Yeah, maybe that's it. Maybe there's something to that. As of this morning, there have been 14 shootings incidents in her ward this year, up 180% from last year. It's the highest year-to-date total since at least 2016. And 23 people have been shot during those 14 incidents, according to a city database provided to media outlets. That's up from 11 people at this point last year. Here's how that compares to other recent years. And we are talking about one ward, right? I don't know how many people are involved, but oftentimes the village of Dalton has like 22,000 people, something like that, 20,000, 22,000, under 30 for sure. I don't know the exact numbers, but you're not talking about a lot. But when you're talking about a ward that in 2024 has 23 shootings already, I mean, are these shootings or murders? Shot. Yep. So Mana Hoppenworth is launching Safe 48. She started her announcement by blaming city, state, and national leaders who failed to protect our communities from senseless loss of life due to guns. Again, it's not the guns killing people. Guns don't do anything. You put a gun in a closet, it's not going to come out and shoot somebody. Somebody's got to take it out and shoot that other human being. It ain't guns. It ain't guns. It's people. You need to go after those people, and then you'll get somewhere. But we're not doing that. That's just not happening. And you know how I know that? Well, because in 2023, there was 11 said shootings. 2024, there's 23. Weird. That number's going up. exponentially. However, as you saw above, previous years were much safer in her ward as recently as 2021, presumably when the policies she is blaming were in effect. Safe 48 has 4 components, according to her email. Youth-focused initiatives that provide resources and opportunities. Okay, that's great. But you are not going to be able to compete with what the gangs have to offer. Let me say that again. No matter what your youth-focused initiatives are that provide resources and opportunities, you're not going to be able to provide more financial opportunities than the gangs. So that one to me is, it's good and you need to be doing it, but it ain't going to move the needle. So the second one on this list is addressing root causes with workforce development. That's your number 1, housing and economic development. Okay. Workforce development. You're not going to have any businesses move into the area if people don't feel safe. If they think that they can be shot, then you're not going to have workforce development. You're not going to have housing. Nobody's going to want to develop housing. Hey, you want to buy a rental in this neighborhood? No, don't want to get shot. And economic development. Again, businesses. They don't want to go somewhere that's not safe. So till you can get some of your safety issues squared away, ain't happening. So now we're 0 for 2. Increasing community policing, i.e. foot and bike patrol. That is great. But when you catch the people that are doing this, you need to throw them in jail for extended periods of time. You're not doing that. There's no accountability, right? And the community, it just kind of lets them happen because they don't want to get involved. They don't want to get involved. So until the community starts looking at itself, we're 0 for 3. Collaboration with public safety partners such as the state's Attorney Community Justice Center to help neighbors advocate for further action on cases that impact our ward. Okay, what does that do? You're collaborating with public safety partners, help neighbors advocate for further action on cases. I mean, I'm just going to go with 0 for 4. So none of that stuff's really going to move the needle. It's not going to do anything. So sorry. Mana Hoppenworth's email this morning also invites readers to sign up for her mailing list for for people who want to opt in to receive crime news. So what about all this? Here's the deal. 6 of the people shot in her ward this year were targeted inside and outside of a single residential building on the 6,000 block of North Kenmore. That's nearly a quarter of this year's victims. Haven't been any shootings there since August, reportedly because some people got evicted. So you're saying that we can identify a handful of people that are knowingly shooting one another and we're not incarcerating them? Okay. Yeah. No guns alone have caused any of these shootings, have they? No, they haven't. So calling it guns? Yeah, that's nonsense. So safety seems to improve if you remove the very small number of people who cause problems rather than spin in circles trying to solve 50 tangential issues, tangents, that will have no knowable effect. I go back to my statement on those 4 items there. They sound great. And, everybody wants to have hope in their community, but that ain't going to move the needle. You got to find the people that are committing the crime and incarcerate them. Take them off the streets. Oh, no, that's harsh, Sean. That's terrible. Can't have that. Here's a proposal that builds on the improvements seen at that building on Kenmore. What if officials expanded that idea? They could arrest the teeny tiny percentage of people who shoot others and put them somewhere secure so that they can't shoot anyone else. We could call those places jails and prisons. That is a novel concept. Who wrote this? Who wrote this article? CWB Chicago. Tim Heck? Yeah. I mean, it's so ridiculous, right? It's so ridiculous. We could call those places jails and prison. Now, we're going the other way there. We are going to justice reform, which is we're just tossing people out on the streets. We're not incarcerating them because, there's the justice. So the person that they capped, the person that they shot and killed, we're not really holding them accountable because, that would be racist. In a bit of a wit twister, the alderman's latest announcement ends with the claim, our community keeps us safe. Okay? Which suggests that the community didn't do its job and is responsible for her office's outrage and disheartenment. Our community keeps us safe, but you're saying that we've got a 180% increase in shootings. So the community's not keeping you safe is the bottom line, right? Yeah. I see these stories so often, and what is so truly horrific about them is that these data points are somebody's child, somebody's mom, somebody's grandma. The lady I talked about who was at the funeral procession and she got capped, that's somebody's sister, that's somebody's kid, that's somebody's whatever. So to blame gun violence is just this, I mean, you need to go after the folks that are committing the crimes and incarcerate them and send them to this place that we could call jails and or prisons. It's not that hard. I mean, it's so basic, and yet we don't do it, right? And by we, I mean, this area of Chicago is not doing it. And it's on an ongoing, consistent basis with, year to date, 466 shot in Chicago, shot and wounded 2,194, total shot 2,660, total homicides 525 in Chicago. Those are some crazy numbers. And yet we're going to blame it on the guns. On the guns, not the people. Weird. That's weird. Anywho, right? I have concerns about this gun violence. It's a bunch of semantics. It's a bunch of just saying stuff that doesn't really mean anything. It's pointing at a bunch of stuff that's not really going to work, because with the justice system you have today, you need to incarcerate the bad guys. And that's not happening. And even when they are briefly incarcerated, no cash bail. Oh, it's good. It's all right. Let them out. Let's go. Let's just, let them be free. Let them be free. Goes out, commits another couple of crimes. And so who really gets impacted? The hardworking citizens of Chicago that are nose to the grindstone trying to get ahead. They're the ones getting capped, right? They get crossfire and capped. And yeah, it just goes on and on and on and on and on. But, so this was an interesting one that, in just a matter of a few months, we're going to go 180 degrees on what we decided, which was, we're not talking about the crime anymore. And then all of a sudden, we are talking about the crime, and you got to subscribe to this newsletter. You're literally chasing yourself around in circles, just boop, 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 because all this other stuff isn't doing anything, and it's not going to have an impact. It's not going to have an impact. But you know what? Keep voting blue, because I'm sure it will work out in the long run. You keep doing the same thing over and over and over and over again, and you get the same end result, but you expect something different. What's the word for that? What's the technical word for that? Let me know in the comments down below. Thanks so much for being here. I'll catch up with you on the next one. Bye for now.